Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. Today we're going to be reviewing the big ol' Anker Solix F3800. It's a portable power station, but it's kind of meant to be a whole house backup. I recently had a transfer switch and a sub panel installed just for these big boys. So I'm going to be doing more of these reviews on the whole home backup, especially now I'm going to be doing a whole solar installation as well in another video. But this is all about just how the Anker F3800 works. Unbox it here, kind of go through the whole thing, see what it's all about, roll it over in my garage and hook it up to that new sub panel and see if we can power the whole house, how the bells and whistles are on it. I know these guys have an app now that works pretty good. I'm going to configure that on my phone, show you how all that works. And we're just going to go through the whole thing and review it and see how it does. Let's get started. So this thing is really big and heavy. Whoa. Well, that worked. This thing is gigantic. Wow. I mean, it did kind of fall out, but it's packed really well. You see this foam, this compressed foam is going to really protect it during shipping. Lift this thing up. Oh my gosh, this is heavy. The biggest all-in-one I have had yet, and it has nice caster rollers on one side. It's got bigger wheels on the other side. Wow, this one also has this little luggage roller. Interesting. So you can either roll it around like this on all four of the wheels, or look at these rubber stoppers here. You can also give it a push and kind of roll it like this. Oh, I like options. Anyway, let's see what else is in the box. Instruction manual here. And then we have this slightly crushed box. Would have been nice to get a little baggie. I know their other Anker power station, they gave a little zip baggie, so I'm not sure why I didn't do that for this. Big old AC plug with thank you Anker, some Velcro instead of tie wraps. A couple other bags here. Two EC4 connector combiners right here is what these are called for solar panels and stuff. You got to scan this to get any kind of instruction manual. I like to have at least a booklet kind of like this that has an instruction on how to set things up, but this has nothing. It's just register, warranty, and all that stuff. Bring up thy camera, tap on it. I'm using an Android phone, I'm just tapping on it there. And there we go. So that's what you got to do with this one. I guess they're trying to minimize paperwork. You can also download this. This is just a whole PDF guide on how to do everything. So the instructions say I should have this solar to XT60 charging cable. Let's double check on that. Nope. Wow, I can't believe that. It was supposed to be in this box right here, and they forgot to put it in the box. Missing a piece already, so that's already a little bit of a negative there. There's no way I could have misplaced that because I just had the box right here. So I'm gonna have to call them and talk to them about that. But anyway, guys, aside from that little weirdness, let's get into this thing. So it looks like, I'm gonna leave that panel on. It looks like you can peel that off. Anyway, leave that on to protect it a little more. Let's start off with the front. Let's get a little bit of detail here. That is the front screen protector. Probably should have left that on, but oh well, too late. Car socket, that's to power it on and off. We have wireless connectivity. Thank you, Anker. They're pretty good at including their wireless connectivity. DJI, if you're listening, we need wireless from you. 3 IQ USB-C ports, 2 IQ USB-A's. We have our display and we have an on-off and a reset. I'm just gonna hold this down, see if we can get an initial boot up. Wow, nothing, okay. Hopefully that is not a fully dead battery and it still works. Anyway, battery expansion port. So this one you're able to expand it with a bunch of extra batteries. And the head unit here is a battery and is an inverter power station all in one, but you do have this awesome expandability if you want to. XT60 inputs, and as you can see, 10 amps each at 11 to 32 volts, but they can also take 32 to 60 volts at 25 amps. So that's awesome. We can be inputting both hopefully at the same time and getting a total of 50 amp input through solar panels. AC charger there, little reset switch. Then right over here, guys, we have Anker's own proprietary home integration connection. This would be great if you do want to just go with Anker fully for your whole system. They do have a smart integration panel. It's just its own little panel with a transfer switch. And you'll have probably the easiest integration in your home if you do want to use it for a home backup, if you go ahead and get that system. All in one unit, and it's pretty amazing looking. I love the rollability and the transportability. If you did want to lift it up with 2 people, you put this thing down like this, and there's a handle hidden under the bottom. So check this out, guys. You can pull this handle out. It's spring loaded. Just kind of snaps back. Use this handle with this built-in handle, and 2 people could carry it, like if you had to carry it up or down a flight of stairs. That's the way you would do that. But it is heavy. 1 person, you don't want to be carrying that by yourself, because that is a lot of weight. Cool thing about this one is it has a big old house home connector output, 120 to 240 all in one unit. So it can do 240 as well without having to sync split phase 2 units. It does it internally. That's awesome. There's our other connector. So these 2 are 120, 240 max at 25 amp out. Here are all of our regular house plugs, 120 volts at 20 amps, which is the normal for these kinds of regular plug-ins. And then we have a couple of other overcharge protection switches. I guess we'll plug it in and see if it charges. Do like the wheels though, do like the handle. All this stuff works great. See how it is getting over a garage floor lip. Not too bad. That thing is heavy though, my goodness. As I mentioned, I had this whole sub panel hooked up. This is the kind of stuff you're gonna need to do if you do wanna run stuff like this and back up your house. Is you have to either run your entire breaker panel with a lockout switch and have like an inlet box for the power to go in. But the way I did it is I moved a bunch of the essential circuits over. Like we have, you can probably hear it in the background, a 240 volt well pump that, you know, in a worst case scenario, when the power goes out, I want that thing to run. And all these other circuits like lights, you know, and the TV in the living room and stuff like that. So if the power's out, we can still use some stuff. And I had them all moved over from these panels over to here, conduit coming from that sub panel and also the main panel coming up. And this is where we plug into the main panel. This is a 50 amp breaker. So we have utility supply from the utility company. Then we have the generator supply to input. And then this is a constant 240 volt coming out to keep these things charged. I just wanted to show you my setup that I just installed to be testing these big boy systems, and we'll have more of that in the future. But for now, really all we can do is charge this thing up, see if it even charges. I'm a little bit wary because of that non-powering on, but it could be one of those things where you just need to charge it first. So let's just plug in here to the regular outlet, right into the regular outlet. There we go. So screen is booting up. Let's see what the default input charge speed is. Okay, we're hitting 358, 1.8, 1.7, and I'm seeing this little flashing icon for our wireless. So this would be a good time to go ahead and hook up our app. Since I already have an Anker power station, let's see how this does. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on Anker here. And let's see, so as you can see, and I've already reviewed, I have the Anker 767 power station there. But I wanna go and I wanna add one. So I'm gonna press plus. So this is the Anker app, just download it from your app store. I'm pressing plus, add device. Let's see if it can just find it, if it searches. There it is, Solix F3800. That was easy. Click on it, scanning. Cool, yep. Let's just go ahead and use Bluetooth for now. Nice. You can also use Wi-Fi to connect it through your home network at your house, and then you can be kind of anywhere in the world and you can be connected. The Bluetooth is only gonna reach about 30 feet, right? So the screen timer goes off pretty quick. The Anker app is great because you can adjust a whole bunch of things here, and I'm gonna show you that really quick. Turn off and on your AC output. So you see that? You can also time it. You can time it for customize or 1 to 3 hours, or have your timer off. Carport, remember that? So that can power, that's this guy over here, a regular lighter adapter. A lot of people want to run fridges, coolers that use 12 volt. There you go. Use less inverter power and just run it straight off of that port for efficiency for our little coolers and stuff. All of our USB outs, we can't turn them off and on, but they do light up, as in the 767 review I did, when you have stuff plugged in. Brightness control on our light. Cool, look at that. Light on the front, just to give you a little bit of ambiance, I guess, and make sure you know it's on. Kind of strange there, brightness control, but it's just like light on and off. Screen, so you can turn the screen on remotely. That's kind of cool if you have it across the room. So a little bit strange. Maybe they can fix that with just brightness. That's just like, they should label that as the light. Cool thing about these and other power stations is a lot of them give you a remaining charge time or discharge time, and that's only 30 minutes. So at 1.7 or 1.4 now, it kind of went down a bit, since it's usually when these things get up higher to like in the 80s, they start dropping their wattage to maintain the battery. So at 1.4, it's going to take us 30 minutes to fully charge from 85%. So that is everything on the main screen. Let's go ahead and click on, all we can do is click on the options here. And this is what's so great about this app, is check this out, guys. You can change the AC charging power for longevity of your device. 1800 watts is the max. I like to get it down to maybe below 600. And below 600 is going to really save the longevity and life of your battery for years to come. Timeout, screen brightness, there we go. Let's try that. So there's the screen brightness. See how it's dimming and getting brighter. So that's where that is. I'm just going to leave it on high. Screen timeout, 30 seconds. I usually like to leave this a little higher, like maybe 5 minutes if you're doing something. You don't want it just turning off in 30 seconds. So a lot of the things you can do like on a phone now. And then you got your Wi-Fi. Like I was saying, you can connect to your Wi-Fi at your home. So anywhere in the world, as long as your phone has internet, you can be monitoring this system, which is great on these newer power stations. Firmware update is blacked out because I need to connect to the Wi-Fi. Let me connect and let's see how easy or hard that update is. You're tapping on these little dots here on the right, and it's going to search for the surrounding Wi-Fi. You click on it and then you just enter your password and you're connected. So that was super easy. I'm connected, and now check it out. I have a firmware update. So that's little red dot. It says there's a new version. I have 1.77 and now there's a 2.11 available. Fix a bug and optimize some functions. So let's go ahead and do the update, see how long that takes. I just like to go through this just so you guys know what to expect. Check it out. Up is on the screen of the machine, and I have a percentage circle here for the updating. Looks like that is going to go pretty quick. We're getting about 1% per second. So let's just wait for this to finish up. Waiting for device to restart. So here's what you can expect. Just good to know these kinds of things. All right, looks like it's restarting. It just went to 0%. All right, 86%. You can see the wattage kind of going up there. And firmware update successful, done. Awesome, so that's how easy that is, guys. You just have to make sure you're on your home Wi-Fi connectivity and that's all configured. You saw how easy that was, and you can go ahead and do the firmware updates. Quick little tidbit, guys, while we're charging at, remember, 1752 watts, there's virtually no fan noise. Really good feature for machines like this when you are charging at a high wattage. These are way louder than this guy here. So I really like that feature about this, is seemingly right now, you really cannot hear this thing if you're more than a couple feet away. It's just this really low tone airflow. You don't normally see that, but this power station was really time accurate as far as the estimated time to fully charge was. It really was within just about a minute of time. The limitations of this one are 120 or 240 at 25 amps. So that's basically half as much as what my other system can do, but we're gonna just see how this handles the house. So first thing we're gonna do is plug in this big old cable right here. All right. It looks kind of weird how it's coming out the side, but I guess they did that so you'd still have access to these AC ports. I want to make sure that I am off. You're going to see the lights in the garage go out. So no power going to this box whatsoever. We're going to unplug the units I have inputting right now. Okay. And we're going to take this one that's coming from the Anker and we're going to plug in. There we go. So remember, if you got Anker's home panel, it's going to be a lot different. This is just the panel I have now, and it's what I want to use. Now remember, this does 120 and 240. There we go. Okay. So what happens is when you click it twice when it's off, do you see how the little car came up here? So that means it's in 240 volt mode. So I have 240 now confirmed coming out of here. Clicking on generator power. Boom. We have an output of only 139 watts right now. Okay guys, so that is unfortunate. The lights have not come back on. This is in 240 mode. Everything's on. But guess what? It's not working on my pre-installed system. That is too bad. I'm going to turn this back off and I'm going to show you that it does work with my other system. So we're going to pull out that plug from the Anker, plug back in just like that, easy peasy, and watch this. Drainage supply on. There goes. All the lights came back on. Everything's working again. So apparently there's an issue with the 240 output, and if you have an alternate type of sub panel breaker switch. I'm gonna have to look into that, man. I was really hoping that we could just swap that out. But there's always more ways to do stuff, right? So the backup system I have right here, this is 2 inverters. It requires 2 to run into 240, but remember, the Anker system only needs 1 unit to also do 240. Supposedly, what my system here requires is to charge these batteries up since I have no solar panels yet. I'm just kind of running them as a UPS, uninterrupted power supply, to run the whole house in case the power goes out. And in order for these things to charge, I had to buy this special cable, and I have to have this 240 ready output plug here to even keep them charged. So this is kind of a 2-for-1. We're going to see if I can just kind of back up my system with the Anker system. And this is going to kind of show you how, if you have maybe one proprietary brand of battery system for your house like this, how to actually extend the battery life with a different brand. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here, since I can't go straight into my panel with the Anker. I'm just going to take this plug from my system here, just plug it in right here to their port. Okay, and then remember, it was double tap to turn on the 240, and let's see what happens. I do have the Anker plugged in just to the wall outlet right now. It is 100% though, so let's just see if all this stuff can work. That would be great to have like extension of my battery pack. So I'm gonna double tap this, remember to turn on the 240. Okay, we have a little car here on the front. All right, there we go. You saw the lights flash off, and that's what this system does, is it has a little bit of a reset delay once it notices grid power again. And essentially that's kind of what we're giving it with this to charge the batteries. And let's see if it's actually working. It's taking from that Anker 1700 watts on that one and 1700 watts on that one. So even though, here we go, even though I'm not able to hook it into my own home panel, probably because of a grounding issue it's finicky about, I can go ahead and I can use it as a backup for my backup system. Not taking full advantage of the battery when you're doing a conversion to a conversion to a conversion, but at least we know we can expand, and it does work. So the 240, these will not work to charge unless you have a 240 out. So that tells me that this 240 out is working fine, It just had a problem with my home panel right here. Like I said, I think it's probably just a finicky grounding issue. Anyway, just wanted to show you that at least we could test that 240 output, and it does seem like it's working fine. Still pulling a massive 3,500 watts to keep these batteries charged and topped off. What is interesting though is I do have it plugged into the wall here on the wall outlet, and it doesn't seem to be charging while it's discharging this 240 volts. So keep in mind, there may be kind of a conversion issue where I would have liked to see this be able to keep this topped off while it was outputting at the 240 volts. I want to see if these other smaller outlets here are going to be 120 while this one up here is 240. Let's just check it out real quick. So plugging in, I know that this is working. Interesting, and it's still not gonna charge from the 120 on the house, but at least I have 240 volt up here, and I can still use 120 volt down here, so that's great to know. So guys, we are finding the limitations. And remember, before we could charge the Anker off of that 120, but it doesn't seem to work or wanna charge it when you're using the 240. And I'm assuming the only way you're going to get that to work is to get their home panel system from Anker and integrate it to a 240 volt. That is going to be a special cable that is needed, so keep that in mind. And that's exactly why this system is unable to charge when it's in this split phase 240 volt mode, unless I have a 240 volt input into it. And it looks like this is the same thing for the Anker. This will be a good test though to test that theory. If I do turn off the 240, even though this is plugged into 120 and I'm getting no charging whatsoever off of 120, will that 120 charge kick back in when that 240 is not being used? So let's try that real quick. I'm going to turn off the 240, pressing it once, boom. I saw my home light switch, and there we go. Look at that, guys. Just went up to 1700. So once that 240 outlet is off, it continues to charge it and back up your battery with 120 volt if you wanted to use it that way. So always little things and limitations that we're finding. I'm glad I went ahead and just tested that, because it kind of lets us know what this thing can and cannot do. It's going to work as normal. If you're just using the 120, you're going to be able to charge it and use for like a UPS mode, but just remember the 240 is going to require that home panel hookup. All right guys, so I am a little bit disappointed that I couldn't get my own home panel to work. Here's the plethora of things I'm going to run off of it. I have a cement mixer over here I bought specifically to put the solar panel array up I'm going to put in the future, so stay tuned if you want to see from scratch to finish and with my system back in the back of the house, how to do your own solar panel, do it yourself. I know there's a lot out there, but this is what I'm going to be doing. Cooler here, my Iceco awesome 2-compartment cooler. We always bring camping with the power station. 1 liter of water in a water kettle, electric water kettle, 2-slot toaster here, a Ninja foodie thing that does, you know, crock pot / air fryer. So all this is like heat resistive loads. This is going to be a huge amount of power draw, including that hair dryer, fancy one my daughter has. That's going to take up most of the AC outputs, and then we're going to just plug in a few USB things afterwards and see how all this works. So let's get started here, guys. So remember, on this bad boy you have to turn on the car socket, and that's the way to do it with these. If you have a cooler, fridge, or anything that can run off of DC, that's the way to go, because you don't have that conversion loss. 60 watts of power right now. As you can see, the lights went on the cooler, so I'm going to close this up. That's going to start cooling, and we're going to leave that running as we do everything else. Next up, plug in the cement mixer. So plugging in, we want to make sure we turn on the AC power. Cement mixer on. There we go. We'll just let that thing run. And it says it can run for 10 hours at 250 watts. Not bad, 10.8 hours. Turn that on, let that boil. Taking 1,300 watts and go. All right, it's gonna run for 3 minutes. 2,180 watts, start. 20 minutes. 3,575 watts. Hair dryer. We want maximum heat, maximum power, maximum everything. 4,800 watts about. There we go, charging. Charging drone batteries. Charging a cell phone. iPad mini. There we go. It was fully dead, but just turned on. It's charging. It looks like we have 0.6 of an hour running at this speed. So remember, the battery capacity on this isn't huge. That's why you have those expansions. Toaster just stopped. Nothing clicked off. Let's go ahead and turn that on again. So you can see the plethora of things that are charging and running. Okay, so we'll just kind of wait till that water boils. A couple more minutes. I know that this is going to run forever, but I just want to turn that off for the noise. Remember, that was only taking like 200 watts about for the mixer. So this thing can handle heavy duty loads on the 120 outlets. Remember, they're up to 20 amps each. So no problem whatsoever in all these, as I would have expected. The only problem is when you're using that much power, your battery's going to go down quick, right? So got about probably 45 minutes of runtime at that 4,200 watts it's pulling right now. It's good to see it in action. And also what I want to do, let me turn this off. That's super noisy. I want to listen to this thing here. It doesn't sound any louder, guys, than when it was charging. Just a really low air noise. Not even, you can't even hear a fan. It's just airflow. So they did a really good job on this Anker in keeping it quiet. You know, so I could see having this in an RV or something if you needed to, or you know, a room, and really it's not going to be loud at all. You're really not going to be able to notice it. There we go. We just have had our kettle click off. I forgot I have one more slot here. There we go. So now we're using up all the slots. Let's turn them all on. See really how much we can just pull from this thing. 5,900. Oh, okay, guess what, guys? We had a clip off, and I have a blinking light here. Check this out. A red light. It says, couldn't read it in time. It'll be on the video though. Right around its maximum 6,000. Did you see that? It tripped. So that's kind of what you can expect. I thought it would be able to push a little over for temporarily for a little while, but that's what it can do. Maxed it out. So it kicked off the entire AC rail. So no more light here. See that? Let's turn that back on. Yeah. There we go. Okay, that thing is blowing a little bit more now, but it's still just barely audible. It still just sounds like air flowing, no fan noise, which is awesome. So easily resettable, and you're back in business. All right, guys, sun is getting scarce. Let's see how this thing does on the gravel driveway. Oh, yeah, not too great for gravel, but I got to get there quick before that sun goes down. See that shade line? You're mainly just dragging something this heavy with this small wheels, you know what I mean? Hey, but it works. All confused. Confusing. Negative and our positive. Plug it in. Let's see what we get. There it goes, starting to go up. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm only getting 410 watts out of those 3 panels combined. So not much. At least I have on the screen, which I hope you can see right here. Recharge 3.6 hours till fully recharged from 73% at 411 watts. So I just wanted to do that quick little test before the sun went down, because it's always good to know if the combiners work and how all that stuff's working. But this is interesting. This is like a 420 watt solar panel. That's like a 320, and this is a 200. I think that was the final test I wanted to show you guys. Anker Solix F3800. Let's do a pros and cons. The main cons, they forgot to give me the XT60 for, you know, solar charging in the box. I can't believe that happened. That was kind of weird. All the outputs work great, except I couldn't get it to work with my home integration panel that I put in. That's just a Reliance panel. It was really picky on that. You guys saw the whole thing. I'm thinking it was just because some of these things are picky with the way you're grounding your panel. I may revisit that in the future, see if I can get that to work, but you're better off, like I said, if you're spending this much money, I mean, this is what, like a couple $1,000s, you're better off just getting your home panel through Anker, and so you can get all that proprietary stuff that works and make sure it's going to all work together. The input charging through the AC, 1800 watts, that's fine. The expandability on the batteries right here, you're going to want to get more batteries, and that's great how you can link, I think it was up to 6 batteries per unit. You can also link units together. If you reach your maximum battery capacity, you can get another unit and you can link them together and then put a whole nother slew of batteries if you wanted. At least you have that expandability. I do like how it is a one-stop shop for 120 and 240. It is heavy. Pros about that heaviness is it's got a lot of wheels, a lot of handles, different ways to carry it, different ways to wheel it around. It's great that they put those caster wheels, and I don't think I mentioned it, guys, but look at this. The caster wheels will lock. So see that? You can lock them and it will not roll. I don't think I mentioned that before. Expandable luggage handle. This is great. I like that on the first 767 power station I reviewed from them. I like the look of it. It has a nice, you know, carbon top, which I didn't take that plastic film off of. I think I'm just going to leave that on. And the gray, really nice aesthetics, looks good. Clipped off under right around 6,000, just under 6,000 watts. And that's what this thing can do, is 6,000 watts. You saw kind of how it performed in real time. You can go in the app also. Remember how I was showing you in the app, and you can configure all that stuff. Some of the cons in the app, I did not see a minimum and maximum charge, okay? A lot of these new power stations that have that smart app functionality, you can set the minimum you want it to discharge. So for my home system in there, I have it set for LFP especially. You're gonna get a longer longevity of the battery if you don't discharge it between maybe 14 and 20%. And if you maximum charge it to maybe 90%, you'll get the best life of the battery. I did not see that option in the app, so maybe that's something they can work on. Give us some more functionality on battery topping off and bottoming out. That'd be great for these LFP batteries. But it is the LFP technology where you do get 3,000 or more charges, up to 80% battery life. Depends on how you take care of it. You can get over or less on that. If you're charging it up to 100% and just hammering it every day down to 0, you're probably only going to get that 3,000 charges to the 80% capacity. But if you take it easy, go to 90, 14, 90, 20 every day, and don't overload it at like 5,000, 6,000 watts max every day, it'll last a lot longer. More to kind of keep in your house, unless you really need it somewhere else. I would probably be keeping this in my home. You know, if you really had to, you could have 2 people help you lift it in a truck or a car and take this thing camping. Those are the pros and cons, and that's really how this thing works, guys. Thanks for watching. As usual, all the links down in the description on where you can get these things, and also more literature on it and how it performs, more specs on it if you want to check that out. And also the other things I use in this video. I did mention the other stuff I'm reviewing, so stay tuned. If you want to see that entire solar voltaic setup, I'm going to put it in the back corner of my house over there. I think I'm going to start with 6 kilowatts and go up from there with a whole rack mounted system. So if you want to see that, also hang in there and subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.